Hey gang, it's JC and this is the Daily Dose for Tuesday, April 19th, 2011. A combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. Archives, top of the page, great old television history. We have, at one point I had 9 VCRs back in the old VCR days. So I always had all of them running and all of them recording, and I never really knew what those things were going to be good for, what all those old VCR tapes were going to be good for. And then of course along came the internet and websites and jcontheline.com, so we decided to just take a lot of old great television pieces, old weather forecasts from Bob Richards and old sportscasts from Mike Bush, and some old interview pieces that I did. Great piece with Leslie Nielsen, who just passed away a couple of months ago when he was promoting the Naked Gun out in California. I was out there sitting with him, so we put all that stuff up there, and you got the Video Village and the Wayback Machine, so you can check that out. And great eye candy today. We'll talk about that in just a minute because it actually dovetails into the weather situation today. I think probably a lot of us woke up earlier than we had planned this morning. Last night at 9 o'clock on Fox 2, Dave Murray pointed out that the storm chasers, it's about a dozen, maybe 16, mostly men, because what woman wants to live in a van, right? But these guys, travel all around the Midwest and the Oklahoma Panhandle and Nebraska and all these places where these monstrous thunderstorms spawn these huge tornadoes, and they are equipped with all this sort of Doppler radar and recording equipment and video and all that sort of stuff, and that's what they do. They go around and chase storms. Last night, Dave Murray reported that they're all headed here. It's very unusual because they're known for being out in the plains where they can elude tornadoes more quickly because, you see the tornado coming, you move perpendicular to it, you get the hell out of the way. The storm chasers, frankly, don't like being in big cities because it's just too hard to maneuver. And you have buildings in the way, you can't get video shots and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, unfortunately, I'm like whistling past the graveyard here. Know exactly why they're here. This is one of those situations where you wonder if this is going to be a day to remember. And they are saying that most of the day today is going to be relatively quiet, but right around dinner time is, well, all hell is supposed to break loose again. And we got a Cardinal baseball game tonight, and we all know what happened back in, I guess it was, '06, when, we had giant trash cans being tossed around and people were running for their lives out there in the middle of a ball game when that storm went through that led to the power outage in the middle of the summer back in that year. So everybody sort of got their eyes on the skies here. I was supposed to have a baseball game of my own tonight, and it brings up an interesting question too, because I distinctly remember the last place I was before St. Louis was Buffalo, New York. And I used to play softball a couple of nights a week there, and the Buffalo Area Softball League had a rule. The rule was if the home plate umpire saw lightning, you had to mandatorily shut down the game for, I think it was something like 30 minutes or something, until the last lightning bolt, flash of lightning appeared. And I think it was for good reason, too. I mean, we had a couple of very highly publicized incidents here in the St. Louis area. We had a situation down in Fenton, I want to say it was probably about 8 years ago, where a guy was actually sitting on an aluminum bench waiting for a softball game to start, and the bench was hit by lightning, and he was electrocuted. He was killed. We have situations all the time. There was just a situation a couple of years ago where a guy is walking down Delmar, sort of in the 170 Delmar area, and he's just walking along, and a thunderstorm came through. Guy hid under a tree. That's the last thing in the world you should be doing, is hiding under a tree. He was, lightning struck, guy was killed. So we have all these situations, but on an athletic field, it's just crazy. Now, I don't really know what the rule is, and I probably should look it up and find out what it is, because when I see lightning and I'm out in the open, I'm going to get the hell out of there and fast. So we're not going to have the problem tonight. See, I thought what was going to happen was that we're going to have a little rain this morning, just a little bit. Most of it would miss. Field would dry out. We'd start playing ball about 6:30 tonight up in St. Peter's at C&H Ballpark. And about like the 4th or 5th inning, Armageddon would hit and we'd all go running for our lives. We've been in that situation before in the men's senior baseball league. But I'm, at this point, as much as I would like to have played ball tonight, I'm sort of glad, because with the way they're talking about all this coming through here later, it's one of those things where you just want to know what's going on. I mean, I'll give you another example. I lived in Brentwood Forest for about 3.5 years after the divorce. And, be out there at the pool on a, beautiful Saturday or Sunday afternoon. And the lifeguards had a policy that if there was a flash of lightning, everybody had to be out of the pool for, I think it was 30 minutes. And we'd be yelling and screaming and complaining and everything like that, but it was for our own good. So I'd like to see if, maybe those rules could be made more universal, because last place you want to be is out in the open like that when you're just asking to be hit by lightning. And there was a guy here in St. Louis, radio broadcaster, Paul Arca, and he wasn't hit by lightning, but he was driving away. I guess something happened. When you do these remote broadcasts, and they go, "Come on, the big Biff 102 Wonder Wagon will be appearing at the shoe store out in St. Peter's Saturday afternoon from 2 to 4. We got hot dogs and balloons for the kids and stuff like that." And you have to raise this mast. You crank this thing and you push a button and the mast goes way, way up in the air, and that sends the signal back to the radio station that you can say, "Hi, I'm out here broadcasting live." Well, something happened and that thing hit a power line, and I think if I remember correctly, the arc went through his head and came out his toe. I don't need any of that. By the way, I saw a statistic not that long ago that something like 80% of people who have been struck by lightning at some point in their lives end up committing suicide. Really, really weird stuff. JC does not want any of that in his life, okay? So let's make those rules universal and let's quit screwing around. In the meantime, I'm still trying to find out what the hell's wrong with Tony La Russa. If you saw a very, very brief clip of his post-game little news conference in San Francisco on Sunday, you saw that he looked like Matthew Broderick in Election. Remember when the bee stings him on the eye and it closes his eye? And Tony La Russa had some giant rash that took up the whole one side of his forehead, and his eye was half closed. It was all swollen, and that to me looks like it could be shingles. I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but you see that sort of stuff, and it's like, what's going on? So when we see Tony La Russa on camera, well, he can do a certain number of things. You can put a hat on, and you can cover up the scar. You can cover up the rash. And he has a tendency to wear sunglasses even at night, so maybe you can cover up some of it. But I'm telling you, there's something going on with Tony's face, and it looks painful, by the way. Going back to the tornadoes for a minute, it has already been like this incredible year for tornadoes. Normally in April, in the month of April, there are 163 tornadoes across the country. Friday and Saturday night alone, across the United States, 225. So normally for the entire month, 163, but just in 2 days, there were 225, and we've been watching on the network news the devastation, and I think it's the Carolinas and stuff like that. Now, normally in Missouri, annually, there are about 30 tornadoes in Missouri. Since December 31st, there have already been 35. So, whether this is something to do with climate change or whether it's just one of these freak situations as far as the weather is concerned, I'm just telling you, just watch out for this, because I was down in Sunset Hills there a couple of weeks ago doing that benefit to raise money for the victims of that New Year's Eve tornado, and you drive around a little bit, it's just amazing. And that was only an F1. That was one of those little ones. So when you hear these things where there's, wind speeds of over 200 miles an hour, and again, it's not wind that kills you, it's being hit by debris. This is what people don't understand. I'm going to talk about this in eye candy again here in just a couple of minutes. We did a story on the show yesterday on the Big 550 KTRS, where Trish Gazelle and I reside every weekday from 10 until 1. Out magazine has been causing trouble for many, many years. They've also been doing a lot of good work. But one of the things they do that falls under the heading of causing the trouble is they, as the magazine is called, they out people. And over the weekend, they released a list of the 50 most influential gay Americans in this country. And the problem is they outed a bunch of people. And for example, I think everybody's sort of suspected that Rachel Maddow from MSNBC, but they outed Shepard Smith from Fox News. Now, I'd heard that maybe 5-6 years ago, but nobody said anything. You got Neil Patrick Harris, who I also am not sure has officially come out. You have Jan Wenner, the publisher of Rolling Stone magazine. Andrew Sullivan from Newsweek. Loved this guy, by the way. Just loved this guy. Conservative, but not one of these nutcase activist, right-wing nut jobs that just is trying to turn the clock back to like the 1850s or something. Andrew Sullivan, that's the sort of guy I like and I respect. You got Susie Orman, the financial expert. You got Ken Mellman, George W. Bush's 2004 campaign manager. Nate Berkus, who's got a show on Channel 4 every day in syndication. Dan Savage obviously writes that Savage Love column that's syndicated and carried here by the Riverfront Times. And the one that really, I've been telling people this for years, and people have been telling me I'm wrong, but they outed Jodie Foster. So we did that story yesterday, and it really raised a lot of eyebrows. And then we got talking about all the gay broadcasters that exist here in St. Louis. And I had an incident take place. I shouldn't call it an incident because that sort of suggests that something ugly occurred. But it was a situation where a guy that I know who's on TV here in St. Louis, it's a name you would know instantly. And radio and TV here in St. Louis, there's a tremendous number of gay people. I could reel them off, but what point would that serve, you know? But anyhow, one of these guys who is, I've known gay for a long time, although he's never come out and said it, but everybody sort of knows. So I'm coming back from a trip, I'm not going to say where, and he and his boyfriend are sitting there, and I come up to him and I start talking, and the guy in question, the broadcaster, is just sitting there talking to me like the guy sitting next to him is not even there. You know, and I just kept thinking to myself, how sad is this, that this guy can't even come clean with me, he can't even be straight with me about this. I think I actually used two descriptions there that probably... should have thought through a little bit. Anyhow, the point is, I wish things weren't like this. And they must have their reasons for not coming out. Maybe they think people will treat them different, or maybe it's going to cost them their job or something like that. But what a awful thing to have to carry around in life, that you just can't be who you are. I don't know. It's 2011. I don't understand what's going on anymore. All right, what do we got? Oh, new on video today, your opportunity to go see The King's Speech. Jeffrey Rush, Colin Firth wins the Oscar. Helena Bonham Carter plays his wife, Queen Elizabeth, and she's very good in it too, and she got a nomination. So The King's Speech, if you were watching all of the awards coverage and watching the Academy Awards, you're like, oh, it sure looks interesting, but you never actually saw the film. It's out on home video today. Go ahead and check that out. It was on this date in 1960, the Chicago White Sox became the first team to put players' names on the backs of their jerseys. Bill Veeck, the great baseball innovator who planted the vines at Wrigley Field and, of course, was up to something pretty much all the time. Bill Veeck, great old guy. But that was the first time players' names appeared on Major League Baseball jerseys. This dates back in 1960. All right, so anyhow, eye candy today, don't do this. You're going to watch this video and just don't do it. The guy is just sitting there, and a tornado is coming for him, and he starts rolling the camera, and he just takes video of the thing. The thing practically destroys his car. There's debris flying all over the place. It's not the wind that kills you in a tornado. It is the debris. It is a 2x4 that's being picked up and thrown at you 250 miles an hour. That's what kills you. And shards of glass and things like that. Occasionally somebody might get picked up and carried a couple hundred yards. Kurt Warner's in-laws were killed by a tornado. Brenda Warner's parents were killed in a tornado. You know, so it does happen. It happens to people. So you got to watch out for this stuff. But this guy in Wilson, North Carolina, shoots the entire video. He's calm, just cool as a cucumber. And they asked him afterwards, it's like, it's like, are you nuts? You just sat there and let a tornado come right for you and you videoed it. You could have been killed. The guy's answer was, I was a Marine and I love Jesus. And that's your eye candy today. It's right below what you're looking at right here. So that's it. JC's Daily Dose for Tuesday, April 19th, 2011. A combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. And in the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.